Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's 3 p.m. Cairo local time for the hour's news bulletin coming to you from Nile TV International and Channel 2. I'm Lamia Abdel-Sattar and I'm delighted to be in the company of my dear colleague Lubna Yahya. Hello, Lubna.
Hello, Lamia. Hello, everyone. We're going to start right away with the headlines. President El-Sisi receives U.S. National Security Advisor delegation in Cairo. Prime Minister Madbouli inaugurates Abydos 1 solar energy station in Aswan. Foreign Minister Abdel-Ati heads to Jordan for Arab Ministerial Communication Committee on Syria.
Details. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received on Saturday U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and Middle East and North Africa Coordinator at the U.S. National Security Council Brett McGurk in the presence of Foreign Minister Badr Abdel-Ati and Chief of the General Intelligence Services Hassan Rashad, as well as U.S. Ambassador to Cairo Hero Mustafa Garg. Presidential spokesperson Ambassador Mohammad Ishinawi said that the meeting tackled the latest regional developments and reviewed the efforts of both sides to reach a ceasefire agreement and exchange detainees in Gaza. President el-Sisi highlighted the importance of urgent action to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza Strip, especially with the onset of winter, stressing on the two-state solution as the basic guarantee for achieving peace and stability in the Middle East.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli inaugurated Abydos 1 station of solar energy in Komombo in Aswan. The Prime Minister was accompanied by Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy Mahmoud Asmat, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources Karim Badawi, and Minister of Planning International Cooperation Rania Al-Mashat, and UAE's Ambassador to Egypt Mariam Al-Kabi. The project capacity is 500 megawatts and is a figure of sustainability in Egypt and supports the state's energy to rely on clean energy and serve a sustainable development strategy of 2030. Addressing the inauguration ceremony, Minister of Electricity said that Abydos Station project is the first addition in the energy field in Egypt. He said that there is a plan to enter nuclear energy in 2029 with 4.8 ability to have 22 megawatts of renewable energy to achieve the targets of 2030 of having 42% of energy to be renewable energy. Prime Minister Madbouli also witnessed the signing of agreements in renewable energy field.
Foreign Minister Badr Abdel-Ati stressed Egypt's support to the Syrian state and its sovereignty and unity of its lands. This came during his phone call with Deputy Emirati Prime Minister Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Abdel-Ati underscored the necessity of adopting a comprehensive political process for Syria without any foreign interference to pave the way to restore the stability of Syria and its regional and international status.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian expatriates Badr Abdel-Ati headed on Saturday for Jordan to participate in the Arab Ministerial Communication Committee on Syria. The meeting will tackle the latest developments in Syria as well as ways of supporting the comprehensive political process in the country.
Jordan hosts U.S., EU, Turkish and Arab diplomats on Saturday for high-level talks on Syria. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken among envoys set to discuss Syria on Saturday in the Jordanian city of Aqaba. Turkey, meanwhile, will reopen its embassy in Damascus, closed since 2012, amid calls by Ankara for Assad to step down. A Qatari diplomat said a delegation from the Gulf Emirate would visit Syria on Sunday to meet transitional government officials and discuss aid and the reopening of their embassy. A UN envoy on Saturday urged foreign powers to work to avoid a collapse of vital Syrian institutions following the downfall of leader Bashar al-Assad as diplomats gathered in Jordan for a conference on the crisis. Geir Pedersen, the UN Special Envoy for Syria, also backed credible and inclusive political process to form the next government as he met U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken.
Speaker of Arab Parliament Mohammed Ahmed al-Yamahi demanded the international community, especially the Security Council, of immediate action to stop the Israeli violations in the Syrian territories and the occupying of its lands. This came in his speech in the second session of the first meeting of fourth round at the General Secretariat headquartered at the Arab League. Al-Yamahi explained that the parliament is following up the latest developments in Syria, renewing its call for the Syrian parties to protect the state's institutions and put the country's higher interest of the country on top priority. The Arab League public session has kicked off, headed by Mohammed Al-Yamahi, Speaker of the Parliament, to discuss the developments in the region.
The U.S. Central Command said in a statement that a top U.S. military officer visited Israel from Wednesday to Friday, meeting with Israeli defense officials and discussing the situation in Syria, among other regional topics. CENTCOM said that Army General Michael Kurilla, CENTCOM's commander, met Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, Chief of Staff of the Israeli Defense Forces, along with Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz. Washington has urged Israel to be in close consultation with the U.S. over events unfolding in Syria, where days earlier, Syrian rebels led by rebel leader Abu Muhammad al-Gulani brought an end to more than 50 years of rule by the Assad family as ousted President Bashar al-Assad fled the country.
An Israeli occupation forces strike on Gaza early Saturday killed at least 7 Palestinians and wounded 2. Israeli occupation also launched strikes targeting a school full of refugees east of Gaza and Hebron, killing 3 Palestinians and wounding several. The health ministry in Gaza said that at least 44,875 people have been killed in more than 40 months of war. The toll now includes 40 deaths in the previous 24 hours, which said 106,454 people have been wounded in the Gaza Strip since the war began on October 7.
Russia said it had launched a massive missile attack on Ukraine's energy network as a response to Kiev firing U.S.-supplied ATACMS at an airfield in southern Russia this week. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia fired 93 missiles at Ukraine in an early morning barrage targeting Ukraine's energy sector. In turn, Ukraine said on Saturday it had attacked an oil terminal in the western Russian region of Oryol overnight, sparking a fire. The governor of Oryol said fuel had caught fire at a facility in the region after a massive drone attack. He also said on Saturday that Russian anti-air defenses had shot down Ukrainian drones during the attack and the fire had been brought under control, although it hadn't yet been extinguished. He said there had been no casualties.
South Korea's parliament on Saturday delivered its declaration impeaching President Yoon Suk-yeol over his attempt to impose martial law to the country's constitutional court and to the president's office. The court will decide whether to remove Yoon from office. While the delivery of the declaration to Yoon marks the suspension of his authority as president, making Prime Minister Han Duck-soo the nation's acting president on his part. South Korea's impeached president said he would step aside after Parliament voted to remove him from office, urging an end to politics of excess and confrontation.
New French Prime Minister François Bayrou said he was acutely aware of the scale of France's financial and political problems, comparing the deficit to crossing the Himalaya mountains. Bayrou said that reducing France's pile of debt was not only a political priority but a moral obligation. He was speaking at a handover ceremony with outgoing Premier Michel Barnier, whose government lost a no-confidence vote.
Head of the Central Agency for Organization and Administration, Dr. Saleh El-Sheikh, received on Saturday Special Rapporteur for Egypt at the African Commission on Human and People Rights, Ogata Leta Muzini. During the meeting, they reviewed the efforts exerted on the administration reformation process in 2014. Dr. Saleh El-Sheikh said that the administrative reform file received unprecedented support from the political leadership, which contributed to carry out fundamental reforms to the public administrative apparatus. He also reviewed the experience of the Central Agency for Organization and Administration in establishing an automated system used in the recruitment process and evaluating human elements.
Britain's economy shrank for a second month in a row in October in the run-up to the government's first budget, the first back-to-back falls in output since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and a setback for new Finance Minister Rachel Reeves. Statistics said that gross domestic product contracted by 0.1% month-on-month in October, as it did in September. The Office for National, it was the first consecutive drop in monthly GDP, which is volatile and prone to revision since March and April 2020, when Britain enforced its first coronavirus lockdown. Economists polled by media had forecast a monthly expansion of 0.1%.
Al-Ahly plays today against Mexican side Pachuca at 7 p.m. Cairo local time in the semi-finals of the Intercontinental Cup for clubs at the 974 Stadium in the Qatari capital, Doha. The Reds aim to add another chapter to their illustrious legacy.
Manager Arne Slot said that Liverpool could have Diogo Jota back on Saturday when they resume their chase for the Premier League title against visiting Fulham, while Federico Chiesa's return is less certain. Jota has not played since injuring his ribs at the end of October, while Chiesa has played just 18 minutes in the Premier League since arriving from Juventus last summer due to a muscle injury. Liverpool have not played a league game since a 3-3 draw with Newcastle on December the 4th after Storm Durag led to their Merseyside derby against Everton being postponed. They remain 4 points clear at the top of the table with a game in hand.
Well, this brings us to the end of this news bulletin. I was Lubna Yahya and it was a pleasure to be with Lamia Abdel Sattar. Thank you, Lamia.
Thank you, Lubna, so much, and thank you everyone for watching.